So let's talk about the indictments. So Donald Trump has an indictment. Specifically, we're going to talk about the Georgia indictment, but I'm going to talk more about all the 4 indictments. Trump gets an indictment. Well, if you're wealthy, you actually get a fair shake out of the so-called judicial system. You get a fair shake. If you can afford a lawyer, well, then that means you'll get to file this motion, that motion, and be able to do all the things that the Bill of Rights says we're allowed to do. But apparently some people think that if you don't have a lawyer, and then a bunch of lawyers, you need $1 million, right? A lawyer isn't going to represent you, poor man. Hey, poor middle-class man, a lawyer isn't going to represent you unless you give them at least 10, 15% of your annual earnings. Unless you give them 10, 15% of your yearly earnings. So, as long as they take a big old bite of your ass, then they'll go ahead and represent you, pretend to represent you. They'll go to court, and then they'll say, well, you got to do a plea bargain. So Georgia, an Atlanta-based grand jury, August 14th, 2023, indicted Trump and 18 others on state charges stemming from their alleged efforts to overturn the former president's 2020 electoral defeat. This one seemed like it had more muster because it's more relevant. That was when Donald called the guy and said, hey, you got them votes yet? Yeah, we need to find those votes. Get those votes. I saw The Sopranos, and the guy just says, you know, if you're ever going to do anything, you need to think about it here, here, and here. And he wasn't saying anything, right? You should just think, right? You should think in your brain. But that's not what he was saying. We know what the hell Trump was saying. He was saying, cheat the election, cheat the electorate. You need to find 12,000 votes. That's what he said to Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. He's asking them to cheat. He's going around saying the other side's cheating, but he's flat out cheating. So this Georgia, there's 4 indictments, right? You got the one that's happened in New York. So that one's already gone through. 34 counts of falsifying business records in the first degree. 34 felonies. 34 felonies he was convicted of in New York. You got the Trump versus USA. So you got a federal indictment. You got a federal indictment with the exact same thing about the election interference. You got this Florida thing about the stealing the documents, right? Classified documents. And then you have Georgia and you have New York. So this Georgia one is just like the federal one in some sense because it's talking about how he tried to overthrow our fucking government. If this election was close, then there might be some wiggle room. Then there might have been, say, okay, then maybe there is some election stuff. But I know that when I had issues voting in Letcher County, when I had issues voting in Conejos County, and I told people about it, people didn't give a shit. People don't care about no election interference. They don't care about no democracy. People want to talk about it's a republic, not a democracy. You don't have a republic if you don't have a democracy. You have a republic without an elections, well, that's not a republic at all. A republic is a representative democracy, and a representative democracy is a republic. Get it through your thick skulls, you sons of bitches. 4 people have pleaded guilty. The 4th criminal case that Trump is facing. So he tried to overturn. He tried to overturn this election. Had the election been closed and he stayed in the White House, that's a civil war. These motherfuckers are pushing for a civil war. And the Mississippi plan, that was right after Reconstruction ended. Mississippi plan was, let's use terrorism and violence and make sure that the black man and the righteous white people who think that the black man is a man, make sure they don't vote. And they won at the election box. They used violence, they used terrorism that stopped the righteous whites and that stopped the black folks from going to the polls and voting, and then therefore Confederates were elected into our American office. Jack Smith is the one pushing this Georgia thing. No, unlike the, Jack Smith is the one pushing the election thing for the DC, for the federal charges. But it says here, unlike the election subversion charges brought by special counsel Jack Smith, in Willis's case, Fannie Willis, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis, will be insulated if Trump is reelected in 2024. He will not be able to pardon himself or his allies any of the state law convictions, nor will he be able to order the state level prosecutors to withdraw the charges. He can't order it, but if, they're already Republicans, I think it's incredible that Brad didn't say anything. Or that he said anything at all. Raffensperger, you need to go find the damn votes. I think it's amazing that he was a Republican, but it's like, you want me to cheat? You want me to cheat the election, cheat the American people, cheat our democracy, cheat our republic? Is that what you're trying to do? He pleaded not guilty via court filing, waiving an in-court appearance as allowed by Georgia law. Well, he doesn't want to go to court. Also, when it comes to how they treat rich people versus poor people, perceived powerful people versus the powerless, why would he even get the indictment? For each one of these 4 felony charges, the one in Georgia, the one in Florida, the one in New York, and the one out of D.C., he's got an indictment. He's got an indictment. And I'll just read a little bit off the indictment for the Georgia one. The Georgia one, all these indictments are like freaking 60 pages, 40 pages long. The one in New York was the shortest one, only 16 pages. Here, this one is 96 pages. So the one in Fulton County, Georgia. So the one in Fulton County, Georgia, 41 counts. A grand jury has already looked at Donald Trump. What's the importance of the grand jury? The grand jury is a bulwark to stop any arbitrary and absolute power. That's in the Bill of Rights of Kentucky. You can't have arbitrary and absolute power. So the grand jury indictment is necessary instead of just having the DA point to that guy, and because the DA knows the cop, or the DA thinks they got to defend all the cops, and then that guy getting fucked because the DA just typed his name into a computer. The grand jury stops that shit from happening. So what's happened in New York with Donald Trump, he's basically already got 12 people that says it looks like there's probable cause of a fucking felony. So we've already got 23 of the grand jurors. They all came in, and at least 12 of them have already said it looks like Donald is guilty. Blackstone says that's the importance of the grand jury, because if you get the grand jury indictment, then you get the conviction from the petite jury. Well, that's 12 plus 12. That's 24 of your countrymen that thinks a felony happened. Instead of just throwing it right straight to the petite jury before the grand jury, we need the grand jury indictment. Donald Trump's going to get a grand jury indictment 4 times over. But why not just treat him like a poor man? Just arrest him off the street, throw him in jail, and then just say none of his rights matter. Oh, who cares about the lawyer? Treat the lawyer like shit. Get the lawyer to force a plea bargain, and then just let him languish in jail. 43 fucking felonies, and this guy's just running about all over the place. Georgia. So here's the Fulton County. All 19 defendants are charged with violations of the Georgia RICO Act. Among other counts, alleging a conspiracy to unlawfully change the outcome of the election in favor of Trump. So it has here the state of Georgia versus Donald John Trump, Rudolph William Lewis Giuliani, Eastman, Meadows, Cheeseborough, Smith. You got the solicitation of violation of oath by a public officer, false statements in writings, impersonating a public officer, RICO, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. That's what they use to go after the mafia. Conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, Schaefer, Roman, Chile, Smith, Ellis, Clark, and Cheeseborough. You got any of that Cheeseborough? Hey, where's that Cheeseborough at? And did you notice that he didn't, Brad Raffensperger was not listed, because Brad Raffensperger did the good thing. You want me to cheat for you, Donald? I'm not going to cheat for you, Donald. This is a Republican. To make sure that we got an election process that works, we're going to make sure that we're not just making up motherfucking votes. We're not just making up votes. You had Fox News that had to pay all that money for the Dominion voting system because they were sitting there alleging that no, they were cheating and it was hacked and all this other shit when it was them that was cheating. That's a civil war. These motherfuckers are pushing for a civil war. On June 5th, the Georgia Appeals Court indefinitely paused the case. So apparently this is incredible. So even though he gets a 96-page indictment and you have him dismissing 6 of the 41 counts, you had Scott McAfee, the judge, who dismissed 6 of the 41 charges. And they said, it doesn't matter. You're indefinitely pausing the case until a panel of judges rules on whether Willis should be disqualified. Who is Willis? She is Fannie Willis. And they're trying to say that there was a personal relationship between the outside prosecutor that she had hired and herself. So you're not allowed to love each other. So if you have a DA and a DA assistant, and what if the cop and the DA's lovers? If they're lovers, and that means they can't charge anybody with anything, they don't know what's going on. I don't even see what the conflict of interest would be in that case. In order to find love, they're going to go after, if anything, love will encourage him to stand up and to do what's right. So Brad Raffensperger deserves a goddamn medal. Brad Raffensperger, he deserves a medal. He's a hero. He stood up to a corrupt piece of shit president pushing for a civil war based on a fucking lie. Stop the steal, stop the steal. He's the one fucking stealing the election. These hypocritical motherfuckers. They want to hate Kaepernick and then they want to embrace the Confederate flag like the goddamn racists that they are. The fake elector scheme in September 2021 letter he sent to Raffensperger again urged him to decertify the state's 2020 vote. So he says, hey, you need to find them votes. And now he's sending letters. Hey, you need to find them votes. CNN had reported surveillance video, text messages, other communications unearthed during a civil case that provided the essential evidence for prosecutors investigating efforts by Trump and his allies to overturn the 2020 election results in Georgia. So, let's see, 18 others. There's the RICO law. The investigation was launched after an infamous recording to find exactly 11,780 votes. Hey, you got 11,780 votes? We need to find ourselves 11,780 votes. That's really fucking specific number there, Donald. Where'd you come up with that number? Oh, you just pulled it out of a hat. You just made it up. This is in the Superior Court of Fulton County. The judge is Scott McAfee. They said that there's some unnamed co-conspirators. He was indicted August 14, 2023. So if you're rich, you get a 96-page indictment. 12 of the Georgian people already said, yeah, that looks like a fucking felony. That looks like he's fucking guilty as shit. And because of legal shenanigans, well, they found a loophole that some judge fucking agreed, some bullshit technicality. So rich people get a fucking lawyer, get a fucking fair shake, and then sometimes a lawyer will actually fucking cheat the system and the judge will go along with it. Trump was originally charged with 13 counts. 3, they said, were quashed. Here are the remaining charges. Conspiracy to commit forgery in the first degree, false statements in writings, conspiracy to commit false statements in writings, the Georgia RICO Act, impersonating a public officer, conspiracy to commit filing false documents, and filing false documents. He was booked August 24th, 2023. So that's the famous picture with the little thing in the star off the. So if you're a fascist fucking piece of shit and a poor man gets arrested, well, that motherfucker's guilty no matter what. You kidnapped his body, you took his fucking body, now you gotta rape that fucking body. Oh, no habeas corpus hearing? Do these people even goddamn read the fucking Bill of Rights? Because if we don't get our Bill of Rights, and that means it's natural law. You want to know why there's so much crazy behavior? Because people don't get their Bill of Rights in America. You gotta pay $1 million fucking lawyer to fuck up your fucking case. Because you have to have a goddamn $1 million retainer. So if you give that fucker fucking $3,000 fucking dollars, he'll take it and run. And then tell you to go ahead and plea bargain out. And so the date hasn't been set on that Georgia case. So I would love to know what we're trying to say here. She got a special prosecutor. So if you got a different prosecutor that would take up the damn charges, if you got a different prosecutor, would that be okay? There's prosecutors all over Georgia. You're telling me that none of these judges can just get some prosecutor to put, are you trying to, you're overthrowing, talk about overthrowing the will of the people. The grand jurors found reason for probable cause. So if a fucking cop fucks over a poor person with probable cause, well, that motherfucker is just fucked beyond belief. But if you're a rich person, you get a 96-page fucking indictment. You get to walk over here, walk over there, talk a bunch of shit in all your speeches. And you don't get in any trouble whatsoever. Yeah, that's a criminal fucking system. What a dumb system. A system that's going to take your voting rights away if you're a poor man, but if you're a rich man, you could run for office. What the fuck is going on here? That's the dumbest system in the world. So he is booked August 24th, 2023. That's the Georgia indictment. I'm going to talk about New York here in a second.